delivers medicine to people who need it. She's got a very interesting story, and it's a great pleasure for me to introduce Valerie Corral. So we can leave a lot of time for discussion. We're asking each speaker to limit his remarks to 10 minutes.
Good morning. Yesterday I was walking and the cornerstone of the Justice Department reads, "The common law is the will of mankind." They haven't been outside in a while, I take it. In 1992, my husband and I were first arrested for cultivation of marijuana. We had 5 marijuana plants that served my needs and replaced allopathic medicines that I took for hoping to take for the control of epileptic seizures. Unfortunately, they did not work to control the seizures, and so fortunately, Mike read in a medical journal in 1973, I believe, perhaps in early 1974, that marijuana had been used to treat laboratory-induced seizures in rats. And we thought, nothing's working, and began to use this medicine. And it eventually has replaced the many drugs that I took, a myriad of drugs. And if you know anything about some of these anticonvulsants, it's much like living underwater and under a veil. I use the medical necessity or the necessity defense, which is a common law doctrine that dates back to the Magna Carta. And I was acquitted of my crime of cultivation in California. At that time, we began an outreach program to other patients, and I thought it actually meant that I could grow marijuana legally and use it. I was under the wrong impression and was rearrested again in 1993, but this time with the added felony of distribution. That never really went anywhere. The local sheriff decided to arrest me against the advice of the district attorney, and that promulgated the genesis of WAMP, the Women's Alliance for Medical Marijuana. And that was the first medical marijuana collective of patients and caregivers. So the question for this panel is, what does the lack of legal supply do to our lives? Often it creates isolation, desperation, and in some cases it creates ingenuity. Actually, in every case it creates ingenuity, because when you need a medicine and you're faced with illness, you must find a way out of that horror, that dark. People, primarily with AIDS and cancer, we found that our organization can produce and provide for ourselves all the marijuana that we need. And we grow it in a communal garden, and we redistribute, or what we call, we don't use the term distribute, because that would be felonious. So we call it a withdrawal system, where people come to our collective holding, and of course we have to bring it there, but people come to our collective holding, and on a weekly basis they withdraw marijuana. We cultivate high-quality organic marijuana, and we provide medical marijuana and other products for the treatment of AIDS and cancer primarily, as I said, but also for epilepsy, glaucoma, multiple sclerosis, and a variety of other illnesses. The primary function of our organization is the collection, besides, of course, giving marijuana to people in need, is the collection of anecdotal evidence. And through the analysis of this data, we've created our second research paper, and we have that available for those that are interested. There's not a written portion that accompanies it yet, because it just came off the computer. But it will. We also find that one of the most amazing things about having a group of people that meet weekly, that come together, is that there's this incredible support network that's built. People need community, and illness often isolates us. We found that people also can be extremely empowered by self-sufficiency. So we teach members of our organization how to grow marijuana, which is very simple anyway. But we provide also seedlings, and all of this is organically grown marijuana. And as I said, the most of it is grown in a huge garden that we, it's not, I'm sure that the DEA would not approve of the manner in which we do it, but it seems to work quite well for us. It's a collective of patients, and that collective creates community, it builds hope, it dissolves barriers, and provides free marijuana. The reason that we can do it for free is because it is a collective. We ask members of our organization, if they cannot work themselves, to have a caregiver that can add, or in some manner, back into our organization, because really nothing is for free. And being a member of any society, you must put something back into the society in which you live. None of us just breathe in. We also breathe out, and even that benefits plant life. So everything we do has to be in this cyclic kind of consciousness, and we encourage that consciousness. We encourage participation. We encourage people who cannot be in the garden to sit with one another in the last days of their life. We encourage that action, because what's really important, and what has brought to mind, what marijuana has brought to mind, is that it's far more important, it's far more valuable than the relief of suffering, which is hard to believe that it could be more valuable than that relief of suffering. But it also changes who we are and how we work with one another. You know, when I look upon the White House and the Supreme Court, the Department of Justice, I view the measure of our struggle. But when I observe individual suffering, I can only note the magnitude of the human condition. And if I sit and I just hold the space of a dying friend, I'm overcome by the vastness of the human spirit. So what does the lack of legal supply do to us? It forces us to stand in the face of adversity, to recognize our enemy not as our illness, but as the injustice of a government who forgets its people. It empowers us to create an answer in community where the institution would offer addictive medicines or perhaps offer us prison. And it allows us to create hope. In the interest of time, I've made copies of our procedure, how we run our organization briefly, and the manner in which we accept new patients in order to protect ourselves and our doctors. And I must say that confidentiality is extremely important. If you use marijuana, tell your doctor, get it in your medical records. That's the first step that you can do to help yourself. Please, there's a table out at the normal table there that has additional information regarding our organization. Please feel free to take some of the literature. It presents our protocols and guidelines of our purpose and again our procedure. And thanks for your time.
Very essence of my answer to this question, for it is not in the practical day-to-day challenges of finding a reliable, affordable, and safe supply of medicine that the lack of a legal supply affects us most, but rather in the minute-to-minute psychological stress and strain that accompanies our knowledge that the next knock on the door might be our ride up the river. Now, I recognize that I am very lucky as patients go. Not only have the new HIV therapies restored my quality of life and my appearance of health, but I also enjoy the benefits of being a part of the community of marijuana users and reform activists, and that community has almost always protected me from the most dangerous illegal drug markets, where busts and ripoffs are most common. When a Sun Sentinel reporter asked me recently to describe my most frightening experience buying marijuana, I couldn't recall one. I've always known good, loving, honest people who would sell me pot when I needed it. I had to admit to this reporter, that there are still inconveniences. I told him, and one must take certain precautions. I typically buy from only one source, a source that sells only marijuana. I buy only an ounce a month, just what I need, a 30-day supply like all my other meds. I never carry for anyone else. I never buy for anyone else. I never travel with it. And although I'm an excellent organic gardener and grow most of the vegetables my house